Starting the stream, starting the recording. Okay, this is OotiniCast episode 469, and it is this is on July 19th of 2023, and it's just me today. We'll talk about that in a second. Let me go ahead and tweet out that we're live, and we'll go from there. Alright, .tv. I probably have to start doing it on something other than Twitch pretty soon, on Twitter pretty soon. But for now, that's what we're still kind of doing. We do use Mastodon as well, as we started mentioning in the back end of the show. I'm not sure if it's a good little social media outlet, but I'm not sure if it's really doing what we need it to yet. So we might stick with it, but we might also look for other options as well. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I actually was going to try to make it so the show notes would all show as well, but then it just kind of looked tacky, and I couldn't get it to look nice on a hurried basis. So it's just going to be my giant face in the middle of the screen. All right, so, and let me see. We are now recording. We are, I've got the Audacity running as well. We're all ready to go. All right, so we'll go in 5. I'm also going to do a little clap to help, because I have a little thing that helps me find where the thing is, but that won't be available because I don't have Kitty with me. So I'm going to do a little clap thing, and then we'll get going. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that knows you don't have to look tough to be tough. This is episode 469, being recorded on Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. I'm your host, Chill, and KittyKissz is not with me today, and no guests either. So KittyKissz let me know shortly before the show some things have come up around his house. He wasn't too specific about it, which is, totally cool. So I don't know if it's, like an electrical thing or a pet thing, but whatever it is, we wish him well. Obviously, hopefully things will get well for him soon. He said he wasn't clear if it would be cleared up by tomorrow, so we decided not to just push it off by one day, which we might have done otherwise. But yeah, so we are good to go. We're just going to go today. We've already pushed it off by a week anyway, and we'll talk about that in a sec as well. But yeah, so no Kitty today. He will be back next time in 2 weeks, and we will be going back to our usual cadence of every other week on Wednesdays. That is the plan. So fingers crossed for Kitty, whatever the issue was that was keeping him away today. I'm sure it will be fine. And here we go. All right, so let's see. So I just got started, so we don't really have a lot of stuff going in the chat room yet, but hello, chat room. And I will just go ahead and go get on this. So we also delayed the OotiniCast by a week. My wife and I went to Yosemite National Park, which was awesome. We were going to do it next week, i.e. this week, and we would have done the OotiniCast last week. But then my wife got worried because there was a small fire kind of near Yosemite, and she wanted to go before the fire season started in case it was a bad fire season and we wouldn't be able to go later on. Fair enough, and it was clearly bothering her. So I asked Kitty, and he went along with it, and he said, yeah, we can just push it off by a week. And I said, great, and we went. So we had a great time, really beautiful up there. We especially had fun there's this one twisty little crazy road. It's paved, but it's like the worst paved road I've ever been on. It's very twisty, very narrow. Technically, it's 2-lane. You can kind of get by each other, but barely. There's cliffs with no barriers. It's wild to get out to this O'Shaughnessy Dam way out in the middle of nowhere. It's in the very northern part of Yosemite National Park. But it was beautiful along the way. It was, like I said, a crazy drive. And then the dam was really cool. There's a very beautiful area, and the dam was sort of interesting as well. So yeah, so we had a lot of fun on that. That obviously pushed off the show by a week, and now, unfortunately, like I said, so Kitty won't be here, but we will just get going. It'll probably be a kind of a shorter show because of that too, but that's all right. So what have I been doing since the last episode? I got Jubilee up to level 46. She's mid-act 3. I think she's finishing Voss, or maybe just finished Voss. That was sort of like early. That was before I went to Yosemite. So it's been a little while since I've touched on her. On this last Saturday, I tried to do some PvP on Olaf. I did a whole stream with Olaf, and it was like in Saturday. I was like, it should have been a really good day to do PvP, but it just wasn't popping. At least not on Satil Shan. And this was not endgame. He's still like in the 70s. I think he's like 78, 79. And but unfortunately, yeah, high B PvP was not popping for whatever reason. I think it might also be because this is like the off time before PvP season starts. Season 3 starts. It actually just started today. So yeah, so it's possible that like the PvPers were just kind of like taking the week off, basically. I'm hoping that's what it was, and that I can get, kind of back to it this week. Let's see. So because that was happening though, and I realized I wasn't going to get any PvP done, I started a new hardcore character, and it's Karma, based on the X-Men / New Mutants character. She's sort of a psychic empath type who can sort of take over minds and stuff like that. So it felt appropriate for sort of either a Madness Sork, I actually did her as a balanced sage, and I wanted to try like a squishy hardcore, because like whenever the other times I've tried hardcore classes, they either had a vanish or they were like, semi-tanky. They were usually damage specs, but they were like, heavy armor and stuff like that. And I was wondering how it would work on a squishy character. So because balanced sage has like a lot of self-healing, it has the shields, all that good stuff. And so here we go. She darn near died on Korriban. There are no problems most of the time, of course. I mean, it's Korriban. It's the first planet. It's going to design with like no trickiness, except normally it's designed not even to have a companion until you get to the end, and then you are supposed to have a companion. So there's this Terentitech fight at the very end, after you've gotten Chem. But because I'm doing it hardcore, there's no help from companions. Companions have to be put on passive. So it's just me versus the Terentitech, and if you know this fight, you know that the Terentitech has like pretty solid defenses against any force attacks. Like its melee attacks, you can do full damage, but force abilities, it takes maybe half to 2/3 damage at most. Like it's really tanky against force abilities. And of course, that's all I had. I was a balanced sage, the equivalent of a Madness Sork, and not even to that, because I wasn't even level 15 at that point. So it was like the equivalent of like any any Sork or any sage. So it was pretty crazy. And I literally it was getting so close. I had used a health pack and everything, and then the very last time before it would have hit me and killed me, I managed to get it with like one last ability, fortunately, and so managed to survive. And that was great, but then she died today. So I did like a little short stream, and I wasn't going to do even a whole planet, I was going to do basically like one planet. That's like all the time I had before I needed to kind of get ready for the show. And so she was on Alderaan, and she was like in the library area, sort of like early Alderaan, and you go into the instance, and there's a couple of fights, and then there's like 2 silvers. And I didn't really realize the second one was a silver. I saw the one silver, and there was another one that was kind of in a doorway, and I knew it was there, but I couldn't tell if it was a silver or not. And it turns out it was. And they were both the same kind of silver, and they both had these hardcast stuns. And so I was like desperately like trying to do damage, interrupt, but of course the interrupt's on a long cooldown, line of sight them so that their casts would be interrupted. But then they managed to get a stun off. I was low. I think it might have even crit because I took a lot of damage. I got stunned, so I couldn't use a health pack actually. And then the other one started doing its hard cast stun, and then I got stunned again. Never got out of stun. I had already used my CC break by that time in the fight, and she died. So my hardcore character's dead. So I have a picture of her, took a couple of screenshots, and I have deleted her. But I liked her. She was fun. She's not like a super famous X-Man or anything, obviously. Who's Karma? Like, is kind of like the typical response. But yeah, interesting character. Kind of fun to do because in the comics, she at one point, you can do her early on, and then she would just have a normal look, but I chose to do the later on look where she loses a leg during like a fight, and then from then on she has like a sort of a bionic limb. So I was able to use like a cybernetic look on the character, which was fun because like I've unlocked a bunch of the cyber outfits over the years, and I don't use them that much, so it was nice to be able to use it. So yeah, she had a kind of a fun look. I was sorry that she died, but hey, that's how it goes. I might have to try again, or I was thinking maybe doing because I was kind of getting into the spec and kind of enjoying it. So maybe not do a hardcore character, but just make a different character, because now the nightlife event has started, and when I do the nightlife event is going on, I like to do like I like to do like a PvP character. I usually will level someone just with PvP. Like I'll get them to like the end of the usually like Coruscant or Dorman Kos, so that they have a ship, so that you can get them to Nar Shaddaa for the nightlife event, and then I just like level up using PvP. So I queue for PvP, and then between queues we just play the machines and see how that goes. I haven't done that yet. I might do that with like a balanced sage, or maybe a Madness Sork, same diff. Haven't decided, but I have a slot open because I had to delete her. So there we go. Yep. So I obviously I made mistakes in that. And when I thought back on the fight, it was like, first of all, yes, if I'm doing a hardcore character, I should know every fight before I actually started. I should have realized that there was 2 silvers and not gone, maybe I should have just backed out of seen the 2 of them, because I'm sure I could have made it to the instance store and exited and survived, like not tried to fight it out. Like I could have backed out. That was one thing. Wasn't a whole lot else, at that level, in the, what was she, in the like mid to high 20s. She doesn't have a lot of, cooldowns or anything, but she did have one cooldown on that I failed to use because I had Cloud Mind at level 27, and it would have given me like 6 seconds of 25% damage reduction. Might have maybe gotten it so that I could get one of them down, and if one of them was down, I could probably figure out a way to survive. Didn't use it, so that was on me. And then I'm not sure what else I could have done. There was probably some other minor things I could have done, but probably the smartest thing really would have been to just exit the fight and then thought about it and like really like plotted it out. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So that was fun, and that actually happened today. So that catches us up. That brings us on to the tip of the week, and we have a couple of them. And we'll do the shorter one first. From DL Smoothwolf, he says, reporting from Jakku, Tatooine, or both, to quote a not-so-respectful Gungan, the sun doing murder to Misa skin. Are we all keeping cool during the heat wave affecting the U.S.? My tip of the week is that before we venture in the desert, make sure to have a bantha or dewback to ride on, and bring plenty of med packs and other things in case you contract womp rat fever. And it's a simple tip, but it's fun. And yeah, I think if Kitty were here, I would ask him, like, because I know he does sort of the hardcore Nightmare Barbie. So he's always like looking to change, and I think he does often do things based on what planet he's on. So I think that would include mounts, but I'm not 100% sure. This is where I would ask him to confirm that. But I think he does do that. I think he actually does, like if he's on, Hoth, he'll pull out a Tauntaun or something like it and stuff like that. So anyway, so thank you, DL Smoothwolf. The other tip is a little longer, from Sam Su. And he said, I heard you guys talking on the last podcast about ways to level up quickly when you first start a new toon. You might have talked about this on another show before, but I haven't heard it yet. I have a favorite way of getting to around level 20 in about 10 minutes. It does take a friend or willing stranger to help, but it's worth it to ask, in my opinion. First of all, if you have the means, buy an Exploration XP bonus consumable, and also level up your Legacy Exploration XP bonus as much as you can. It helps to have the Legacy perk to get a speeder at level 1. Next, have someone invite you to their Rishi stronghold. Then they simply kick you from the stronghold, and you end up on the starter area on Rishi as a level 1 player. From there, you just go and explore as much of the Rishi map as you can. Deep into the map, the mobs become quite strong, will detect you easily, even if your stealth will aggro you pretty quick and immediately will kill you. But at that point, though, you will be able to discover almost the entire area, and it should get you to around level 19 or so, and maybe even higher if double XP is going on. So there you go. We have talked about this in the past. It does work. And if you're a little bit on the lazy side and you don't want to do, because I haven't really heard about this version where you really try to do all of Rishi, but that's a good one because Rishi is one of the higher level areas that has a stronghold that also exits to like a big area where you can explore a lot. So that does make a lot of sense. We haven't really done this version of that before. The other thing though that we've kind of talked about before is if your friend is willing, then you don't explore like the whole map, but you explore a few areas of the map, and then you have them go to your other strongholds, like Yavin 4 is okay. It's not great, but you can do a little bit on there. But like Alderaan, Tatooine, there's other ones, and they all, anything that's like higher than like level 20, 25 gives a pretty good amount of XP, and they can just boot you out of each of those strongholds. So that does work too. But thank you, Samsu. That is a good one, and I think that's probably right, that like Rishi would be one of the best ones to just sort of explore the entire map and get tons and tons of XP on, because like there's tons of parts of Rishi because you get dumped out in the starting city, there's hardly any mobs, and they're all like underneath the floorboard area, like underneath the boardwalk area, and they can't really aggro on you even if you're level 1, because there's no line of sight as long as you stay up above. You can go to the other city where the cantina is. You could even and then you can kind of go around the edges as well. So pretty nice. It definitely would help if you have the level 1 speeder perk for sure. Anyway, so that's great. And they'll get a Tonfon M83R droid or M2B9 droid code of their choice, plus a 450cc code. All right, that'll bring us to the mine trap. And this is another one where Kitty, it would have been nice to have Kitty around, because actually it looks, Kitty's audience helped give suggestions, and it sounds like this question actually came sort of like from them, like joking around and having ideas of like, silly things basically that sort of came up. And so Kitty suggested we turn this one into this question, and so we did. Which SWTOR companion would be the hardest to bring home to your parents to tell them you're getting married? And so the options we put were Skadge, Kaizen, Fess, Dark Jace Wilson, and Khalil Janus. And thank you for the retweets and answers and all that sort of thing. I voted for Skadge. That would be really hard. Like, Skadge is hard to take, and he's really violent. He's really nasty. And I mean, and not to be speciesist, but he's not exactly, super good looking by human standards, I don't think. Maybe you've got a Skadge thing going on, but I sure don't. I am in good company with 62.4% of the vote. I forgot. Probably should have, when Kitty was texting, maybe it would have been a good idea for me to text and ask which one he would have said. I think he would have said Skadge as well. We might have to confirm this next time. But Skadge won, going away with 62.4% of the vote. Dark Jace Wilson, actually, with 20.8% of the vote. And actually, I can see that. Like, Kaizen, yes, another, Transocean, pretty violent, unusual, in a lot of ways. But Dark Jace Wilson, that could go badly very quickly, and I could see that being a real issue as well. Kaizen actually got third with 8.9% of the vote, and Cleo just 7.9% of the vote. So there you go. I guess Cleo could put on a happy face for a little while if she really had to, but I think in the long run that might actually be one of the worst ones, because Cleo is just going to do what Cleo wants to do, and if she finds some way to use your parents against you or against whatever, or use them for other means or kill them, she probably would. All right, and yes, most of the people who wrote answers thought the same thing. Skadge, one of them, ZV Macklin said, Skadge is literally the guy from My Big Fat Obnoxious Fiance in my mind. So there you go. All right. And IK says, no, Jace over him. A dark side psycho will ruin your life. Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. I think maybe Skadge would be like really hard to actually do the introductions, but after that, Jason and Kalia would both be really hard to deal with. Like on anything after like the first meeting, you know, like that first like hour of meeting, like anything after that, Jason then goes, he gets a lot worse. All right, that'll bring us to the holo feed. And let's see, we have the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife, because it's been a little bit of extra time since the last show, and then they put out the you know, what the things were for July, so we've sort of, you know, there's been a couple, but now there's the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event. It started on the 11th. It's going through August 22nd, so we have just over a month from this recording. And yeah, requirement none, although technically you need a way to get to Nar Shaddaa, so I mean, I guess if you, at level 1, you could have a friend kick you out of their Nar Shaddaa stronghold. That would dump you onto the promenade, and then presumably you could take a taxi to the casino, I think. But, so there's not, but usually you're going to need to get your ship, though, to get there. But whatever, it's all good. There's no technical requirement, though. Test your luck at the exotic Star Cluster and Club Vertica casinos with the return of the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event. Rare and extravagant rewards await high rollers or those touched by Lady Luck. For those of you wanting a change in scenery, the event has broadened its horizons and is also happening on Mech Shah. New daily missions and rewards await all those flushed with credits. Yes. And of course, this was designed as sort of a credit sink event to some degree. You will get Emperor's chips as drops from regular mob, all kinds of mobs. It doesn't have to be any particular type of mob. Every type of mob in the game seems to have a chance to drop the Emperor's chips. And in fact, you know, even the character I deleted had like, you know, 6 Emperor's chips that we then used when she was on Nar Shaddaa. And actually she got the, it's funny, she got the high roller shades, the ones that I tried so hard to get last year and like finally got on like the last day after like trying everything to get it done. And then I finally got it. Like, it was really hard to get. Well, because there's other stuff and the odds have changed, you know, I'm sure it's a little bit easier to get it now, but it was kind of funny because now I've got 2 high roller shades. But anyway, yeah, they still have the stuff that you're used to. And by the way, like the Kingpin, the old guns are like really cool. Like there's, they all have sort of like the 1920s gangsters feel to them, especially the blaster rifle has like a very much a Tommy gun look to it. The sniper rifle too, although with a longer barrel, it doesn't look quite as Tommy gun-ish. But if you want a Tommy gun in the game, you know, that's the one to get for sure. It's essentially a Tommy gun blaster rifle. It's really awesome. But yeah, there's some new stuff as well. So the high roller skiff mount, which is, you know, I mean, there are other skiffs in the game. They're a little harder to get. I think they're all cartel market items as far as I can remember. I don't remember any other versions of them being anywhere else. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, if you've always wanted a skiff but just haven't had the luck to get them from any other, you know, any boxes or anything, or haven't been able to afford them on the GTN, this is a way to get a skiff. There is also a new armor set, the high roller armor, and so you can get a box set, but you can also get individual pieces. I haven't done enough pulls because I've done like 6 Emperor chips. I burned down 6 Emperor chips, which is actually like 12 pulls because sometimes it gives you back the Emperor chip on the one character. And then Olaf did a few more because he got some chips as well, and he didn't get anything except the Kingpin chips. So I don't know like how often you get like the set box versus getting the individual pieces, or if it's only possible to get, or if you just if you can get the individual pieces from the vendors. Maybe I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'll have to check on that before they get that. But in any case, there's a set box as well as individual pieces for the high roller armor set. The Kingpins and Nightlife Socialite armor sets are still around. Kingpins is sort of like this it's kind of like their version of like a gangster but it's very SWTOR-ish, so it's not super like, it's not super gangster movie-ish. The Nightlife Socialite one is like shows a lot of skin. It's very sleek and has some shine to it, and it's supposed to look a little expensive, I guess. The Frojo Nure and Gamorrean Bodyguard Companions are both still there. Frojo Nure is the Rhodian. I think he's still the only Rhodian companion in the game, as far as I can remember. In any case, he's the easiest one to get during the event, anyway. And also, if you get enough of the things, I think we'll have to check, but I think you can probably buy them now. Vectron Magnus and Kingpin Ranker mounts are still around. The Predator mount. There's a bunch of decos and all kinds of other stuff. Mini pets. There's all kinds of good stuff. So looking forward to trying that again some more. I mean, like I said, all I've done is burn down some of the Emperor's chips that I got as drops. Also coming up, not this week, but starting next week, July 25th, and then going through August 1st, is going to be the Swoop Rally is coming back. So Dantooine, Tatooine, and Onderon, and those are the 3 planets where you can do the ultimate Swoop Rally, and there's the different teams that you can get reputation with all of them, and there's different mounts for the different teams and different decos for the different teams and stuff like that. So, and you do the little races and stuff. It's pretty fun, actually. I haven't done it in a while, so I should probably get back to that, because I don't think I've gotten any real any real reputation with any of them, really. I think the most I did with it was when it was on the BTS. So I really do need to get going back on that. They also have gang outfits and mini pets as well. All right. They did show like the advanced blasters and stuff like that this is from Galactic Seasons. Looks like I didn't quite catch all of that. Let me correct that real quick. All right. So there's going to be, they do let you know what the different ones are going to be. We don't usually talk about them in the show because it takes too long and there's not really a lot of value to like saying, oh, in 2 weeks you can do, these ones, and 3 weeks you can do these ones. Yeah, there's not a ton of value in that, unfortunately. But we do have them if you want to look them up. They're, of course, on SWTOR as well. Or you can just take them as they come and just do them on the week, which is kind of how I do it. So I am still doing the thing where I log into the other servers where I don't normally play, including the German server, the French server, and the British server. And I am finished on my main server on Setil-Shan. On all the other servers, I think I'm around 80-ish. Like I'm in the 70s, I'm pretty sure. I haven't really checked it recently, but or at least in the 60s. Might be in the 60s, but I think I'm in like the high 70s though. And so I'm hoping that by the time season ends, which is about a month from now, we'll be able to get the season done on every server. It really doesn't take all that long, really, especially once you've got a character on every server who's of the right level to get conquest points, so you can finish get the 2 points every day and then the weekly. Anyway, all right. So they did talk a little bit more about the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event. They had a sort of a special, in addition to the, hey, this is what's going on during the month, they had an actual article specifically about the Nar Shaddaa Nightlife event. We've already kind of talked about it. They do show pictures of the outfit and the skiff. The outfit is kind of cool just because, it's a little unusual. It has like a collar, which is sort of like high on one side, low on the other. It's a little weird that way. But it sort of looks like, it's very leathery, sort of leather armor. It's relatively form-fitting, but it's not like skin tight or anything like that. But what really stands out is that there's several holographic pieces on the armor that kind of hover off sort of the right bracer area. One that hovers off of the right shoulder, and one and there's a little bit of a glow around the left eye as well. And it adds a nice little touch to the outfit. So I'm hoping to get that one this year and check it out. I'm not sure if it would work for a cosplay character or not, but it's definitely cool looking. And there are characters who like wear a lot of different things. I could probably make it work at some point. And yeah, and the holographic, because it actually stands out. It does not on the surface of the armor the way like a lot of armors have like glowing bits, but they're all embedded in the armor. This one's actually holographic, and it stands out from the armor about the equivalent of a few inches or centimeters. Good stuff. PvP Season 3, Reign of Glory, is starting. Well, actually, it did start today, I believe, right? Yeah. So they have made some changes to the arenas to try to, because they were finding, they've been dialing this in over the first couple of seasons, and now a little bit more for Season 3. They've made changes to the points players receive on several PvP maps, including all the Hutball maps, and adjusted the requirement for arena objectives and PvP arena weeklies. So in Novar Coast, or La Costa Novare, which is what I always call it, and just for fun, defenders will receive 700 defender points, up from 500 when you're guarding a bunker. Defenders will receive 700 defender points when defeating an attacking player near the bunker. Attackers who actively capture the objective will receive 2,000 attacker points, 1,000 for actively capturing, and 1,000 for any assist work that you may have contributed. Attackers will receive 5,000 attacker points when defeating a defending player near a bunker. So definitely a lot more attacking and defending points will be given out on that one. On Voidstar, defending an objective now grants 700 defender points. When defeating an attacking player near the door, the player will gain 500 defender points. And when attacking player defeats a defending player, they will receive 500 attacker points. In the Yavin Ruins, which is essentially a lot like the Alderaan one, defenders will receive 700 points when defending a turret for 30 seconds. Defenders will receive 500 defender points when defeating an attacking player near a turret, and attackers will receive 500 attacker points when defending a defending player near a turret. And in addition to these changes, all points received on all the Hutball maps have been adjusted. So for all Hutball maps, when a ball is scored, the ball carrier will receive 2,500 attacker points. When a ball is scored, the scoring team will receive 2,225 attacker points. Defeating the ball carrier rewards 700 defender points, up from 500. Defeating enemies near the player's end zone rewards 500 defender points, up from 250. Pretty nice. And then for the arena objectives, for decorated, earn at least 7 medals in 6 arena matches, down from 8 matches. Play in 12 for combatant, play 12 arena matches, down from 16. And for arena domination, win 4 arena matches, down from 6 matches. So this brings it. I don't think it's equal to the Warzone ones, but it's a heck of a lot closer, and should make it a lot easier for like people to get, because I found the arena ones a lot harder to do, and so and since you can only do 4 out of the 6 anyway, I just focused on the war zones, and I rarely queued up for arenas. Hopefully this will sort of balance things out, and people will, it'll make it kind of easy to get either one, and that way you can just kind of play PvP and whatever pops, and then you'll get, whatever you get, which is good. For the PvP arena weekly missions, my kind of scum the daily requires 4 arena matches, wins count times 3, down from 6. Arena of Death daily now requires 4 arena matches, wins count 3, down from 6. Time for Pain weekly requires 16 arena matches, wins count time 3, down from 24. And the weekly Go Berserk now requires 16 arena matches, wins count 3, down from 24. So and again, in both cases, making it a heck of a lot easier to do arenas. They've always the reason for the originally making them essentially double the war zones is because the arenas do tend to go a little faster, and for when I think they were sort of almost even very early on, they sort of found that like everyone was just doing arenas and then not doing war zones at all. Then they sort of doubled it, so now and then they're sort of backing off. So it's still a little. I think it's maybe a little higher than the weekly for the war zones, but it's not that different, and it's a heck of a lot easier. All right, so the PvP season will now have 2 armor sets: the Sandstorm Soldier and Scorching Sands armor sets, which are the ones we've talked about before that are sort of like demon samurai looks. It's very samurai inspired, but like the face part has horns and sort of has a vaguely demonic aspect to it. It's a very cool looking set. Actually, both of them are. They're sort of similar, with the second one being a little fancier, having more glowing bits and stuff like that. But both along the same thing. So. It does have some of the same decos that you'd expect. There's going to be, the Season 3 little trophies and the little flags and all that sort of stuff. Tulix, the seasonal PvP vendor, will update his inventory with new rewards when the season starts. Among the new rewards available for purchase, players can choose between the Sandstorm Raiders armor set, the Scorched Warlords armor set, and the PvP Season 3 flag decorations. Similar to previous seasons, these rewards will stay in Tulix's inventory for the duration of Season 3 and then move to Garada's inventory at the end of the season, which means you'll see it occasionally, but you'll have to keep your eye out for it at that point. And of course, as they've always said, like, it's designed to be like easier if you just get it during that season if you want it, rather than like trying to save up because it's going to be kind of expensive with the points that you get from the PvP arena points. So if you could just do some stuff and then save up your points and eventually get it, but you're not going to be getting a lot of other stuff if you do that, and it's going to, it'll take you a while for that sort of thing. All right. And yeah, and finally the Regal Apparel mini skirt. There was a little talk about this on the forums. Jackie said, this one was Eric. He said, okay, apologies for the slow response on this one, as it took quite a bit of digging to work through what exactly happened. I will give the details further down, but the TLDR is that the skirt with the leggings is intended, and that version will stay untouched. However, given the nature of the fix happening, we're going to add a version of the skirt without leggings in 7.3.1. So anyone who has acquired the armor set at that point, or pulls it down from collections, for those who already own it, will receive both versions. So yeah, so basically what this is there's a mini skirt in the game, and it's always been a little glitchy, I guess you'd say, or a little wonky, because in some situations like previews, it will either show leggings or it will just show your character's just legs, just whatever the color your skin is, it'll show that instead. So it's either a mini skirt without any sort of leggings underneath, or it's a mini skirt with the same color leggings as the skirt basically underneath. I think it defaults to white or something very close to white. And then it's been very wiggy-waggy, because like sometimes it'll preview one way, sometimes it'll show in the game like when you're running around one way, and then sometimes it'll show in cutscenes one way, but they're all different ways. So like whether it has the leggings or just the leg look, the skin look is like, it's hard to know, because it'll be like, I think for a long time it was like it would preview. I don't remember what the preview was, but when you're running around, it would just have the leg, it'll show the skin color. But then whenever you're in cutscenes, it would go back to having leggings again. So it was all kind of like up in the air, and like it was hard to tell if it was even supposed to be one way or the other. Like you couldn't really tell, like, is this supposed to be because the leggings don't really have, the quote-unquote leggings don't really have any texture or anything. So it was really hard to tell whether they intended it to be skin or if they intended it to be like a legging look. So it was all very wonky, and it did change a couple times. Like, I remember at one point I was looking for a version that had like just the skin, and like it just didn't seem to be in the game anymore. It's like, what happened to it? Well, what happened to it was it had been there all along, but they had changed it. So at that point, it was all leggings at that point. But now apparently it's sometimes showing skin again. Anyway, it's been a big mashugana. And so they are going to make it so that you can have both, which is cool, because I definitely have the Regal Apparel miniskirt. And actually, since they're going to give both versions, not a bad idea to have that set anyway, because that way you can have one look or the other, whichever one you actually want, which is awesome. So yeah. So Eric continues. A lot of that was just me going on about the history, but back to what Eric said. The detailed breakdown for those who are curious. When the armor was released way back in 2013, it actually launched bugged. The bug was that the leggings weren't showing on the character model, but were showing up on almost every other situation, such as the plates and in the gears icon. Unfortunately, the place that it was bugged was the most visible, which certainly makes the whole thing confusing as to what the bug actually is. As you know, once an MTX item goes live, we are very, very hesitant on touching something someone has paid for unless it's very clear it was bug. The skirt issue didn't present that as clearly as a bug, so it isn't something that we would have changed. However, with our journey to 64-bit, we effectively, and bear with my highly technical terms, jiggled the handle on every texture in the game. When that pass touched this armor set, it re-exported the skirt, which was all that was needed to fix the leggings. We didn't actually fix the skirt intentionally. It was more of a byproduct of our move to 64-bit. There you go. All of that said, that is why our plan will be just to have both versions of the skirt for previous and future purchases. I appreciate your patience as we dug through this very unusual series of events that led us here. Thanks all, Eric. So thank you, Eric. That was awesome. Yeah, interesting to how these sort of things sort of happen in the games. Like, games are very complex, and in this case, something that, you know, kind of unrelated just happened to fix the bug. So apparently they did want it to be leggings all along. They were not looking for a miniskirt with just, you know, legs with just skin underneath. But now they're going to have both, which is great, actually, because I think both are kind of looks that are, you know, kind of make sense. Like, why not have both, actually? It'll be interesting to see, like, is it going to be where, like, you pull the outfit out of collections? Will it just give you one version with leggings and one version without? Or are there going to be two different versions of the outfit in collections? Like, is it completely different collections? Or are they just going to add two different leg versions and then you'll just, you know, delete one of the one you don't want? I'm not sure. It's not really clear how that's saying, you know, so anyway, because the way they phrased it could mean either way. They will receive both versions. So, yeah. Since they do say the phrase, who pulls it down from collections will receive both versions, sounds like they're just going to add both of the legging versions in the one set, and you'll just have an extra version. There are other outfits that have, like, different variations of helmets or different variations of chest pieces, and then you just kind of get both. That's not super common, but it has happened, and now there'll be the legging one, so that's all good. All right, and then one other one that's sort of seemed to be important. It's a little hard to talk about on a podcast because there's a lot of, like, weird technical stuff, but we'll sort of give you the outlines, and then if it seems like your problem, like you're having this sort of problem, then you'll probably want to actually look it up on SWTOR.com. So Jackie, in this case, wrote this one. We're seeing reports of players who've noticed a drop in quality and graphics and wanted to offer some insight and also a few steps players can take to improve quality. As a reminder, as of 7.2.1, the minimums, which was when they went to 64-bit, the minimum specs for SWTOR have been updated. Includes Windows 10 or later. It has to be 64-bit version of the game. And then if AMD, Athlon, 64, X4, dual core, 4000 or better, Intel, okay, anyway, memory, 6 gigabytes of RAM. These are all very, like, not super high. Like, you don't have to have a very modern computer to beat these. But in any case, they are sort of reminding people what the stacks were. And it sounds like this sort of issue is going to affect people with the oldest computers anyway. An important note for laptop players is that Windows has the ability to force which GPU your laptop uses. It can select the lower powered GPU if your laptop is either not plugged in or if you do not specify which GPU to use. And then they give you a set of steps to select a specific GPU. So it sounds like one of the issues that's making this graphic issue come up is for older laptops, which are defaulting, or maybe if they're unplugged, you know, just therefore going to the unpowered, you know, like the lower power GPU, which of course would not have as good graphics because it's using less power. There's different settings for Windows. There's one for an NVIDIA graphics card version if you're having it if that's an issue. And if you do not see, let's see, and there's also a way to know which video card SWTOR is given by Windows to run with. So if it's possible that if there's some issue with how SWTOR is actually looking at your graphics card and maybe it's not using the correct one if you have a system like that. I don't. Certainly I don't, but yeah. I could see where that would happen too, especially again, sort of like with laptops, a lot of things sort of get turned on and off to sort of save battery power. And so I could see where like a graphics card might be sort of ignored by the system when it comes to actually running a game. All right. There's even a setting in one of the files that controls when the game switches to forced lower resolution textures. Note that any card with less than 256 megabytes of memory will use the lower resolution textures. However, if you change the above setting to below how much memory you have, it will turn off the forced lower texture resolution, and that's a workaround. So anyway, lots of little ways. So if you're finding out that recently, like since the 64-bit went live, if you're having like these weird issues where your graphics keep going to some sort of like low resolution and it looks like crud, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, they do have a post about this, and you should definitely check that out. All right. Then, excuse me, that does take us to the force feedback. And the force feedback where we read your tweets and emails and so on. And Justin wrote into us. He said, "Hey, Chill and Kitty, great job on the recent episode. Definitely enjoyed your insight on the transition to Broadsword. I wanted to mention that I have been listening to the show since launch, which is awesome. I met Chill at the Community Cantina, happened in Times Square. That was really cool. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I also met the cast when you had a party at the Celebration in Orlando. I think that was 2017. Orlando was a lot of fun. That was a long... Gosh, yeah, it had to be 2017, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it's amazing that it's been that long. The tips and other segments of the show have certainly helped me become a better player, so thank you for that. I did want to ask you a favor. I hope it's appropriate to make the request. Is it possible to share the list of quotes that you use at the beginning of all the episodes? And I did so. Reason I'm asking is that I'm putting together a bank of sound bites from all the movies and shows. I thought your list could serve as a great resource on sound bites I should collect. And I did give him the whole list, although I chose them not for different reasons, not necessarily because they're super like famous, although that's one of the things I sometimes do it is I try to squeeze in a quote that makes sense, that everyone would sort of recognize and hear. But usually it's to sort of fit in with the theme of Welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast, and then it sort of fits that mold. And so I have stuff that's from all over. Today's actually was an Ashoka quote, because we have the Ahsoka. Did I say Ashoka a couple of times? I think I did. Ahsoka, because she has the H, it's at the beginning, so it doesn't really... You don't really sound it like that. Anyway, she has the series coming out pretty soon, so I did a quote from her. Anyway, thank you, Justin, and that'd be fun to. So a bank of sound bites from all the movies and shows, yeah, and hopefully that would help. I think in some cases, like I do. I mean, obviously, I'm going to choose like a more. When it comes to it, I do choose like more famous quotes over like less famous quotes, just for obvious reasons. So so like if it's I have several of them from Rogue One, and it's all sort of like a lot of them are from K2 because he's very funny and he has a lot of really good quotes and stuff like that. Anyway, all right. So thank you for that. It sounds interesting. Like I'm wondering what you're going to be doing with the bank of sound bites. That's is it for like a show you're doing or whatever? In any case, very awesome. Sounds interesting. And all right. I think that is it. So right. We'll call that a show. If you'd like to play with the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Utini Rage Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel, then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using at OotiniCast, or Mastodon at OotiniCast at mastodon.world. You can find contact details for us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, streaming at twitch.tv/OotiniCast, And our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room. I'm sorry I wasn't very good about like looking over at it too much, but I do appreciate it. It was all very up in the air because anytime something new happens, it's always more difficult. So I appreciate you sticking with me, and thank you very much. We'll see you next show. All right. Stopping the stream.